Ethan Miller had worked the night shift at Greenmart Supermarket for almost 3 years. The job was boring but predictable. Every night after closing, Ethan restocked shelves, cleaned aisles, and helped prepare the store for the next day. The store itself was enormous. Customers only saw about half of it. Behind the sales floor stretched a maze of storage rooms, employee corridors, loading docks, and maintenance areas. Ethan knew every corner, or at least he thought he did. One rainy Thursday night, he was moving boxes of canned food through a narrow hallway behind the frozen section when something caught his attention. A door. A gray metal door. He stopped walking. The door had never been there before. At least he was certain it hadn't. There was no sign, no room number, no handle, only a small keypad mounted beside it. Ethan stared at it. He had passed this hallway hundreds of times. How could he have missed an entire door? The next morning, he asked his manager, "What room is behind the gray door near the freezer storage?" The manager looked confused. "What gray door?" "The one in the back hallway. There isn't a door there." Ethan laughed. "I'm serious." "So am I." The manager pulled out the building map. The hallway ended exactly where Ethan remembered. No room, no door, nothing. Yet when Ethan returned that night, the door was still there, waiting. And this time, he noticed something strange. Someone had scratched words into the metal. "Do not enter after midnight." For the next week, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about the door. Every night, he checked the hallway. Every night, it remained locked. Then one evening, something unexpected happened. At 12:03 a.m., the keypad suddenly lit up. The screen displayed a message. "Access granted." Before Ethan could react, the heavy door slowly opened by itself. A cold draft rushed into the hallway. Beyond the doorway stretched another section of the supermarket. At least it looked like a supermarket. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Shelves stood neatly organized. Shopping carts sat abandoned near the entrance. Everything seemed normal, except for one thing. This department didn't exist. Ethan stepped inside. Rows of products lined the shelves. Boxes, cans, bottles, packages. Yet none of the brands were familiar. Some labels contained symbols instead of words. Others displayed dates decades in the future. One milk carton carried an expiration date of April 12, 2089. Ethan's pulse quickened. At the far end of the department hung a faded sign. Department 17. He pulled out his phone and took several photographs. The moment he did, every light flickered. A loud announcement echoed through hidden speakers. "Attention customers. The store will be closing in 5 minutes." The voice sounded distorted, almost mechanical. Ethan looked around. The department was completely empty, yet he suddenly felt watched. Then he heard footsteps. Not one pair. Many. Coming from somewhere beyond the aisles. He ran back through the door. The moment he crossed the threshold, it slammed shut behind him. When he checked his phone, every photograph had vanished. Over the following nights, Ethan became obsessed. Nobody believed him. Security cameras showed only an empty hallway. The mysterious door never appeared on recordings. Yet Ethan could see it with his own eyes. 1 week later, the door opened again. This time he entered prepared. A flashlight, a camera, a notebook. The department appeared exactly as before. Silent, frozen, abandoned. Then Ethan noticed movement. Someone was standing at the end of an aisle. A woman pushing a shopping cart. Relieved to see another person, Ethan approached. "Excuse me." The woman slowly turned. His blood ran cold. She had no eyes. Only smooth skin where her eyes should have been. Yet she smiled. "I've been shopping here for a very long time." Ethan stumbled backward. More customers emerged from the aisles. Dozens of them. Men, women, children, all dressed in clothing from different decades. Some wore fashions from the 1960s. Others looked like they came from the future. Every customer carried a shopping cart. Every customer stared directly at Ethan, even those without eyes. Then the overhead speakers activated. "Attention customers. Closing time has arrived." Instantly, every customer stopped moving. The smiles disappeared. Their heads slowly turned toward Ethan. At once, hundreds of footsteps echoed throughout Department 17, and every customer began walking toward him. Ethan sprinted toward the exit. Behind him came the sound of carts rolling faster and faster. Just as he reached the door, he glanced back. The customers were running. The door slammed shut behind him the moment he escaped. He collapsed in the hallway, shaking. For the first time, he noticed another message scratched into the metal. "They don't like being seen." Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan searched old newspaper archives. Eventually, he found something disturbing. 30 years earlier, Green Mart had been built on the site of another supermarket. A supermarket that burned down during a mysterious overnight fire. Officially, nobody died. Unofficially, dozens of employees and late-night shoppers were never accounted for. The records ended there. No investigation. No explanation. No answers. On Ethan's final night at Green Mart, the door appeared once more. But this time it stood wide open. The lights inside glowed brighter than ever. A new message flashed across the keypad. Final inventory. Against every instinct, Ethan stepped inside. Department 17 seemed endless now. The aisles stretched into darkness. The shelves towered overhead. The customers stood perfectly still, waiting. At the center of the department stood a checkout lane. Behind the register sat an old man wearing a Green Mart uniform. His name tag read, "Store Manager." The man smiled. "You found us. What is this place?" The manager sighed. "A department that was forgotten. What do you want from me?" The old man looked around at the silent customers. To remember. Suddenly, Ethan understood. These weren't customers. They were people who had vanished during the fire. People trapped between places, neither alive nor gone. The manager handed him a small ledger. Inside were hundreds of names. Victims, employees, shoppers, people erased from history. "Take it." Ethan grabbed the ledger. The lights immediately began to fail. The customers started disappearing. One by one. The manager smiled. "Thank you." The department shook violently. Shelves collapsed. The checkout lane vanished. The customers faded into dust. Ethan ran for the exit. The door slammed behind him. Forever. The next morning, he handed the ledger to local authorities. The forgotten victims were finally identified. Memorials were created. Families received answers. And Department 17 never appeared again. Years later, Ethan would occasionally visit Green Mart. The hallway remained exactly as shown on the building map. No door. No keypad. No sign of Department 17. But sometimes, late at night, employees reported hearing a distant announcement echoing through empty aisles. "Attention customers. The store is now closed." And somewhere beyond the walls, hidden from the world, a forgotten department finally rested in silence.